So 11th class, yesterday we have read this chapter, Landscape of the Soul. Today we are going to recap the entire chapter. As I've told you, this chapter is a descriptive chapter which tells us about the two art forms. First one is the European art form and second is the Chinese art form. The chapter highlights the difference between the two art forms through various instances, short stories. The author tries to bring out the major traits of these two art forms, right? So let's start reading the recap part. Just a second, please. Okay, Arhan. No, wait. Arhan, is the screen visible to you, beta? Arhan,
Yes, ma'am.
आपकी वॉल्यूम इतनी है बेटा?
मैम अब ठीक है?
Right, it's better now. Please read out the first part.
Okay, ma'am. Landscape of Soul summary introduction. The story Landscape of the Soul by author Nathalie Travaray is about art. The summary of Landscape to Soul evokes the varying sense of beauty and desires of artists in Western and Eastern
And please
countries.
speak a little louder.
While the Western eye longs to see life accurately, artists in the East prefer an active and emotional engagement with the craft. The chapter involves two parts. The first part is obtained from Landscape of the Soul, Ethics and Spirituality in Chinese Painting, and the second part is procured from Getting Inside, Outsider Art, an article written by Brinda Suri in Hindustan Times.
Okay. Now, this is something which was not clearly mentioned in the story as such. This is the prologue, we can say. The story is by author Natalie Trowbridge. I've told you it's about art, right? And it evokes a varying sense of beauty and desires of artists in Western and Eastern countries. The Western eye longs to see life accurately, the real picture they try to show it to you. But the Western eye longs to see life accurately. Artists in the East prefer an active and emotional engagement with the craft. So there's a difference between two. The chapter involves two parts. The first part is obtained from the landscape of the soul, that is ethics and spirituality in Chinese thinking, right? You will also see that touch of supernatural and spirits there in the Chinese film. The second part is procured from Getting Inside Outsider Art, an article written by Brinda Suri in Hindustan Times. The second part is got from this article, Getting Inside Outsider Art, that was written by Brinda Suri in Hindustan Times. This was related to again art forms, right? Now I want somebody else to read out. Shrishti Sharma, is your connection stable enough? Shrishti Sharma, am I audible to you, Beta? No response. Akshat Jain, I'm coming back to you, Beta. Akshat Jain, can you hear me? Akshat Jain, switch on your videos first of all. Akshat, video on kariye. Right. Akshat, your face is still not visible to me. Better. Start reading the first part. Summary of the landscape to soul part 1. Akshat, please continue. Akshat, I cannot hear you. Have you unmuted yourself? You're still mute. No, you are still not audible, dear. Sarthak, is your connection stable? Yes, you start reading.
In the landscape of the soul summary, the first narrative is about a famous medieval Chinese artist named Wu Daoji, who lived in the 8th century under the Tang Emperor Zhuang rule. He was asked by the regent to decorate the walls of his palace. Wu Daoji painted a beautiful mindline of mountains, waterfalls, rivers, clouds, and blue skies, wildlife, and people living harmoniously in a radiant environment. He painted a cave in the foothills of the mountains that was dwelled by a spirit. While painting,
Okay.
Wu
Sarthak,
clapped
give
his
me your
hands.
voice here. Sarthak, wait. Now, this is something which we have read in the opening of the chapter yesterday. And I think this was one story which dominated the entire chapter, right? So you people are going to tell me the story. Who all know the story, please raise your hand. This was about a Chinese painter, Wu Daoji, right? Initially, the beginning lines we have already read right now also. Wu Daoji painted this beautiful picture of the mountains, rivers, clouds, and blue skies. And he was asked to paint this picture on the palace wall. So he hid this picture behind a screen so that nobody else could see it. He only wanted that the emperor should see it because this order was given to him by the emperor, right? So what happens when he shows this picture to the emperor? Please raise your hands. Raise your hands, all those who can remove that. Nobody knows. I have done this chapter yesterday. Today it's a recap session. Arhan,
Yes, ma'am.
first of all, switch on your videos. All your videos are off again. The moment I share the screen, your videos are off.
Ma'am, my
Switch on
camera
your
is
videos,
on.
everybody. Yeah, yours is on, Arhan. I can see that. Akshay Jain, Sarthak. Hanji, give me the answer for this. Raise your hands, all those who know this story. Very good. Yesterday we have done it and today nobody knows it. Pay attention. I'm going to ask you questions once I complete the summarization. The story was about a Chinese painter, Wu Daoji, who was commanded by the Chinese emperor to paint the palace wall. At the outset, the painter painted a beautiful wall which had all the landscapes, the nature, the beauty of the nature was depicted very well. The mountains, the waterfalls, rivers, clouds, blue skies, wildlife, and everything was painted nicely. When the emperor saw the painting, he was mesmerized by it and he appreciated it. But the painter, Wu Daoji, asked the emperor to notice that at the foothill of the mountain, there was a cave. And he told that it was dwelled by a spirit, that a spirit lives in that cave. Now, obviously, to our understanding, this is something very strange. This is something very weird because how is it possible that there is a cave in a painting and he says that that is dwelled by a spirit? The more strangest things with the strangest part which happens in the story is that the painter asks the emperor that come, I will show you the beauty of the cave. He claps his hand and the cave opens. Right? The cave opens. The cave is splendid from inside. The painter asks the emperor to follow him. The emperor enters into the cave and the cave closes. Sorry, not the emperor enters into the cave, the painter enters into the cave and the cave closes before the emperor is able to enter in. Now, obviously, this is something very strange. How in a painting is it possible that somebody can enter into it, right? We can say it happens in the mystical world, in the fantasy world, it's all in books of fiction only. That is not possible in the real world. But then what Chinese painting is all about. They go up to a level of imagination somewhere which is unexpected, unbelievable, And in all of their stories, you will find that supernatural effect, that spirits, that haunting feeling, that you will find everywhere, right? That was the first story. Now, this story, the narrator has given at the beginning of the chapter to give you an example, to give a specimen of the Chinese painting, right? Now we are moving on to the second example that would give you a clear picture of the European art form, right? Sarthak, please continue reading. And camera's on again. Sarthak, your camera is off.
In the summary of the chapter Landscape of the Soul, the author shows the knowledge of the mystical inner world. It opened a portal to a different world. Wu entered the cave and the image disappeared into thin air before anyone else could react. Wu disappeared as well. The story became a Chinese legend and part of rich folklore from writers and philosophers such as Confucius and Zhuangzi.
Okay. Now, in the summary of the chapter, the author shows the knowledge of the mystical inner world. Now, this was strange. This was the mystical inner world where the painter had entered in the cave. The painting disappeared after that. And after that, the painter was not seen anywhere. They say that the Chinese painters, they have their own mindsets. They are the people who know where to begin and where to go, where paintings and art can take you to. Right? Though he tried to show that part to the emperor, but the emperor was not able to reach that part. Painter was able to. So it opened a portal to a different world. Wu entered the cave and the image disappeared into thin air before anyone else could react. Wu disappeared as well. The story became a Chinese legend and a part of rich folklore from writers and philosophers such as Confucius and Zhuangzi. Such writers and philosophers have mentioned this story in their books and in their writings. Okay. Now, whether the story is real or it's fiction, in today's world, we cannot actually believe that it could be possible, right? But then perhaps that time it happened, it was impact of the spirit or what gone wrong, God knows, right? Chali, let's move on to the part 2 now. Sarthak, please read out the stanza.
The second part of the Landscape of the Soul summary is about another painter who believed in the spiritual magic of art. He painted the magnanimous dragon. However, he did not paint the eyes of the dragon because he was afraid that the dragon would come to life. The belief he had in his art was such that he was frightened by the probability of bringing his art to life and falling victim to a fairy dragon.
Right. Now, the second part of the Landscape of the Soul summary is about another painter who believed in the spiritual magic of art. Right? And this is the magic of art, which is by the European art form. This art form is so real that it became. This art form is so real that once it happened that a painter, he painted a magnanimous dragon, but he did not paint the eyes of the dragon because he was afraid that the painting was so real, it seemed so real, that if he painted the eye of the dragon would come to life. Again, any of us could question, how is it possible? How could painting could come to life? Right? The belief he had in his art was such that he was frightened by the probability of bringing his art to life and falling victim to a fiery dragon. He was so sure about the reality. I mean, the painting seemed so real to him that he himself, being a painter, and of his own painting, he was frightened by the probability that his art could bring life to this dragon and he could be a prey to this fiery dragon. Right? This is the second story. Now we are coming on to the third part. Sarthak, please read out this part.
In the third and final story, the writer cites a story representative of Europe during the 15th century, Antwerp, Belgium. There was a blacksmith named Quentin who fell in love with a painter's daughter. The difference between their profession led the father not to accept their relationship. To earn his beloved hand for marriage, the blacksmith sneaked into the painter's studio and painted a fly on his latest panel. It had such moderate realism that it is reassembled a real one and tried to fly it as a living insect. Quentin's skill, determination, and simplicity convinced him and got his daughter married to him. Finding his true love, Quentin became one of the greatest painters of his age.
Okay. Now, this final story, where the writer cites a story representative of Europe during the 15th century in Antwerp, Belgium. The story was about a blacksmith named Quentin. Now, Quentin falls in love with the daughter of a famous painter. The painter, because of his profession that he was a blacksmith, he didn't accept the relationship, right? Now, to earn his beloved, the blacksmith, one day, he entered into the painter's studio. And the painter perhaps didn't even notice. He was busy in his own work. He sat on the latest panel, which the painter had, and he painted a fly, right? Now, the fly, when the painter got up from his seat and he noticed that fly, he thought that fly to be so real that he tried to swat it away. Swat it away means उसको दूर भगाने के लिए, जैसे हम mosquitoes को flies को we just do like this, that is swatting away. So he tried to swat it away. The fly seemed to be so real. It had such moderate realism, right? So Quentin's skill, determination, and simplicity that convinced the painter, and he, first of all, he hired him as an intern in his studio. And after that, this man married his daughter. So Quentin became one of the greatest painters of his age afterwards. Though he was a blacksmith by profession, but later on he turned to be the greatest painters of his age. Now, these stories illustrate the different forms of art in different regions. So again, we are comparing the Chinese arts, which convey a deep purpose and emotion and give a sense of vitality, while the Europeans are concerned about external appearances and a perfect illusionistic likeness. The author talks about the Chinese concept of shanshui. Now, shanshui is a part which we are going to read out in detail. Here it's in very brief, it is given. Just let's read out this section and then in detail I'm going to explain it to you, the shanshui part, right? Okay, please read this stanza. These stories illustrate.
These stories illustrate the different forms of the art in two different regions. Chinese artists convey a deep purpose and emotion and give an essence of vitality, while the Europeans are concerned about external appearances and a perfect illusionistic likeness. The author talks about the Chinese concept of Shanshui, which means mountain river. She also familiarizes the concepts of yang and yin.
Just a second, please. Okay. Now, this example I've already explained. Now, shanshui. Shanshui is a Chinese term which means mountain river. Now, here you will find mountain as the yang. Yang symbolizes mountain, which is straight, erect, showing the path towards heaven. It is strong, right? So, and it is the masculine symbolism, yang. Yin, on the other hand, symbolizes fluid, vertical, right? Soft, and the feminine part. Yang was the vertical one, yin was the horizontal one, right? So this yin symbolizes the feminine one, which is the soft one. So this concept of shanshui refers to that. Then what one thing is missing here, the author here clearly mentions that apart from yin, yang and yin, in Chinese painting, there is a middle void. Middle void is a place between the mountain and the river. There is this blank space, that is the sky, where their interaction takes place. The entire activity takes place here in the middle void. Now they are connecting it to the Chinese painting. They say that you will find all these things in a Chinese painting. Yang as the mountain, the landscape, yin as the river, the female part, the humans in it, and the middle void, the blank space is given in a Chinese painting. The white section is the middle void where the activity takes place, and which is the space left over by the painter, giving ample space to the viewers to imagine and enter into the painting from their point of view, right? The painter here wants the viewer to enter into the painting from any part. It is also mentioned that in Chinese painting, at times the painting is into levels. The viewer can enter into any part, from anywhere he can enter, right? He wants the viewer to travel into that painting, develop his perspective, but to understand his mind, with what perspective the painter has drawn the painting. Right? That is the difference between yin and yang. Got that? Chali. Now we come on to the conclusion of the landscape of soul. Please come to that part, Sarthak.
Finally, in the landscape of soul summary, getting inside outsider art, author Binda Suri talks about the notion of art brut. She explicates about artists who are gifted and do not require formal training, yet they are comfortable and can use unconventional methods of art that crafted artists cannot. They instill a deep sense of spirituality in their work that makes it more real than it looks. They want the audience to find their way into the work and find different approaches to admiring and analyzing the artwork. The author cites it by referring to the rock garden in Chandigarh designed by Nekchan. He was also an eccentric genius with a vision to think above and beyond his contemporaries. Therefore, we discovered that art is a constant form which has rich antiquity and it cannot fit inside any particular crate or label.
Okay. Now, finally, in Landscape of the Soul summary, getting inside and outside the art, author Brinda Suri, he talks about the notion of art. Now, art, we all understand, it's unique in its own self, right? There is no limitation to art. Everybody has its own style. Uh, Brinda Suri says that the artists who are gifted and do not require any formal training. Art is something which is within you, right? It can be polished, but it is not that easy to inculcate that artistic form in the people, right? People are comfortable and you can use unconventional methods of art that crafted artists cannot. They instill a deep sense of spirituality in their work. You will find a touch of spirituality, supernaturalism, all these things in there, and it looks at times it looks more real than actual real things. So they want the audience to find a way into the work and find different approaches of admiring and analyzing the work. To make it more clear, Brinda Suri has given an example of the rock garden in Chandigarh that was designed by Nekchan. He says he was an eccentric genius. And I don't know how many of you have seen that rock garden in Chandigarh, but it's absolutely beautiful, right? So we can imagine the artistic skill within the painter. Actually, his work was exceptional. It is clearly written and it's very true in its sense that it is beyond and above his contemporaries. What his previous painters have drawn and what the vision they had, what they had planned and what they had thought, that was something, totally different from what he had. Therefore, art is a constant form which is rich in antiquity and it is absolutely unique. Each painter has its own unique form of art, right? So with this, I finish up the summarization, the recap of this chapter. Just a moment.